When your dog falls asleep pressed against you, do you actually know what they are telling you? You probably think it is about warmth, the soft bed, the habit of it. They like being close, so they curl up and drift off, and you have never once asked why there, why you. But that explanation falls apart the moment you look closer. Where a dog chooses to sleep is not about comfort. It is rooted in biology, in ancient instinct, in over 15,000 years of evolution. And it says something about you that you have never let yourself believe. By the end of this, the way you see your dog will change completely. Not because you missed something, not because you did anything wrong, because nobody ever told you what sleep actually means to them. This is the real science, not what we assume, what researchers have actually found. And the reason they sleep the way they do, which we get to at number 4, is the one that hits hardest. Once you understand it, you will not look at your dog the same way again. It starts with a decision. 1. The decision to be defenseless. The easy explanation is this. Your bed is warm, your blankets are soft. They sleep next to you because it feels good, and there is nothing more to it than that. But that explanation falls apart the moment you think about what sleep actually is. Sleep is the most vulnerable state a living thing can enter. Eyes closed, body still, every defense down. In the wild, it is the one moment an animal cannot protect itself. And for thousands of years, that single fact decided who lived and who did not. Your dog carries the wolf inside them. Pack animals do not sleep alone. They sleep in a pile, pressed together, guard dropped. But only inside the circle they trust completely. Sleep was never about comfort out there. It was about who you were willing to be defenseless beside. So when your dog crosses the room and lies down against you and lets their eyes close, they are not looking for a softer spot. That is not your dog getting comfortable. That is your dog deciding you are the one place in the world safe enough to fall asleep. You are not their pillow. You are their safety. The thing that lets them finally let go. And what they breathe in while they do it matters more than you know. 2. Sleeping inside your scent. The easy explanation is that your sheets just smell familiar. Your skin, your blankets, the worn-in scent of the place you sleep. They settle there because they recognize it. Comforting, ordinary, nothing more. But that explanation falls apart the moment you understand what scent is to a dog. For you, smell is background. For your dog, it is the whole world. They carry up to 300 million olfactory receptors. You have around 6 million. The part of their brain that processes scent is proportionally about 40 times larger than yours. They do not just smell you, they read you. Here is the part that stops most people. At Emory University, neuroscientist Gregory Burns trained dogs to lie still inside an fMRI scanner, fully awake, and watched their brains respond to different smells. The reward center, the part that lights up for everything that matters most, did not respond hardest to food, not to a strange human. It lit up most for the scent of their own person. That is not your dog smelling your blanket. That is your dog finding the one scent on earth their brain has marked as safe. You are not a habit they fell into. You are the signal that tells their entire body it can finally rest. And no other scent on the planet does that for them. What happens next happens in both of you at once. And if this is changing how you see your dog right now, take a second and subscribe. We cover what dog behavior actually means, not what we assume it means. 3. 2 nervous systems, 1 rhythm. The easy explanation is coincidence. You wind down, so they wind down. You go quiet, they go still. You happen to fall asleep around the same time, night after night, and it feels like something more than it is. But that explanation falls apart the moment you look at what is actually happening inside both of you. At Linköping University in Sweden, researchers measured long-term stress hormones in dogs and their owners, not in a single moment, but over months, locked into the hair itself. What they found was synchronization. The dog's cortisol levels mirrored their owners. Two bodies, one stress rhythm, rising and falling together. And it runs deeper than stress. In a study published in the journal Science, researchers documented an oxytocin loop between dogs and the people they love. The same hormone, the same feedback circuit that binds a human mother to her newborn. You look at each other, and both of you release it. You rest against each other, and both of you settle. Here is what is extraordinary. When your dog sleeps pressed to you, your stress drops, and so does theirs, at the same time. That is not two bodies sleeping side by side. That is two nervous systems falling into the same rhythm. This is not projection. It is not sentiment. It is documented, measurable, real. The closeness you feel on those nights is happening at the level of your hormones, in both of you, at once. And the position they fall asleep in is about to mean something you did not expect. 4. The watch they keep. This is the one. The easy explanation almost insults them. Your dog lies down beside you, back turned, face pointed away, and you think they have simply rolled over, picked a spot, settled however bodies settle, with no meaning in it at all. But that explanation falls apart the moment you understand what that position is. Go back to the pack. When wild canids sleep, they do not all face the same way. One faces out. One holds the watch while the others drop their guard. The animal turned toward the dark is not ignoring the pack. It is guarding it. Ethologists describe this as one of the oldest survival behaviors in social predators, the sentinel, the body placed between the sleeping and the threat. Here is the part most people never consider. When your dog lies against you and faces the room, they have taken that post. Back to you, eyes to the door. They have placed themselves between you and everything that might come through it. For a pack of one. For you. That is not your dog turning their back on you. That is your dog turning to face whatever might come. So you do not have to. Sit with that for a moment. The animal you thought you were protecting has been protecting you. Not as a pet, not as a habit. As a guardian who decided, without being asked, that you were worth standing watch over. Every night while you sleep, someone is keeping watch, and it has been them all along. There is one last thing they are telling you, and it is the deepest of all. 5. The anchor. The easy word for all of this is needy. They cannot settle unless you are there. They follow you to bed. They have to be touching you to sleep. People will call that clingy, and you may have half believed them. But that explanation falls apart the moment you see what it really is. At Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest, researchers took a test built for human infants, Mary Ainsworth's Strange Situation, the experiment that mapped how babies bond to their mothers, and adapted it for dogs. The findings were unmistakable. Dogs use their owner exactly the way a child uses a parent, a secure base. With you in the room, they explore, calm and confident. When you leave, they fall apart. When you return, they settle in an instant. That is the same attachment architecture that binds a newborn to its mother, not a metaphor, the same system. Here is the part that stays with people. When your dog sleeps against you, their entire nervous system has organized itself around one fixed point in the world, and that point is you. That is not your dog needing you. That is your dog choosing you as the anchor their whole being is built around. But because they are built around you, listen when that changes. If your dog suddenly stops seeking you out at night, cannot settle, paces, stops climbing up where they have always slept, pay attention. A real shift in sleep can signal pain, anxiety, aging, or illness. You are not their vet. Talk to one. That change is them telling you something, and it deserves to be heard. Because every night until then, they are still telling you the first thing. Every video on this channel begins the same way, with a question most dog owners have never stopped to ask. And then we go looking for the real answer. Not the simplified version, not the comfortable assumption, the actual science, the studies, the behavioral research that takes years to surface and rarely reaches people in a way that feels like a real conversation. That is what we do here, every single time. If this video gave you something, a new way of seeing your dog, or a moment that made you stop and think, then do one thing before you leave. Hit like. Drop a comment and tell us where your dog sleeps and which of these 5 it just changed for you. And subscribe so you do not miss what we are putting out next, because the more you understand your dog, the better life gets for both of you, and that is always worth showing up for. So tonight, when they cross the room and press into you and let their eyes fall closed, understand what you are watching. Not comfort, not habit, not need. A decision, a guardian, an anchor that chose where to drop. Out of every warm place, every safe corner, every quiet room in the world, every single night, they choose you.